Hi, I'm Reb Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. This year, as I'm going through the lessons, I'm asking Jesus for clarity. And then from that clarity, I'm writing whatever comes to me after contemplating them. So that's what I'm sharing with you today. Today, I'm doing it a little bit differently than I've done it in the past for this year. Because this is kind of a long lesson, and I knew it was going to take more than the 15 minutes allotted me by YouTube. So I'm going to read part of it, and then I will stop and make a part two, part two of this lesson. Okay, so lesson 95 is what we're looking at. I am oneself united with my Creator. Just take a moment to think about that. I am oneself united with my Creator. Paragraph 1. Today's idea accurately describes you as God created you. You are one within yourself and one with Him. Yours is a unity of all creation. Your perfect unity makes change in you impossible. You do not accept this, and you fail to realize it must be so only because you believe that you have changed yourself already. I find these lessons that describe what I am to be very helpful. Jesus is right that I believe I've changed myself already, but I'm determined to let go of the belief that I actually changed reality. These ideas that I'm one within myself and that I'm one with God strike a chord in me. There is a truth in my mind, and I feel it coming forth as I do these lessons. The practices are helping me to hold on to the truth in the face of my previous decision to have it otherwise. Paragraph 2. You see yourself as a ridiculous parody of God's creation, weak, vicious, ugly, and sinful, miserable, and beset with pain. Such is your version of yourself, a self divided into many warring parts, separate from God and tenuously held together by its erratic and capricious maker to which you pray. It does not hear your prayers, for it is deaf. It does not see the oneness in you, for it is blind. It does not understand you are the Son of God, for it is senseless and understands nothing. Jesus has been severe in his descriptions of the ego version of me. I appreciate that, actually, because it reminds me of why I do this work. I must see what I have made before I can honestly make another choice. It is important that I accept the truth, that the ego has no love for me and no ability to help. Until I do, I will keep looking for solace in a world incapable of giving it. I will keep looking for solutions where there are none. Paragraph 3. We will attempt today to be aware only of what can hear and see and what makes perfect sense. We will again direct our exercises toward reaching your one self, which is united with its creator. In patience and in hope, we try again today. What I see with my eyes and hear with my ears is not reality, but I can ask for a different interpretation so that I can make sense of it. This is what I do when I'm aware of feelings and thoughts that are not in alignment with truth. And I ask the Holy Spirit to interpret for me and show me a different way to see. When I see myself as a body, I can ask for another way to see myself. When I believe I am the dream rather than the dreamer, I ask for correction. Doing the meditations with this lesson is leading me to experience an experience of self, true self. Nothing is so important as the experience if I want to know myself. Paragraph 4. The use of the first 5 minutes of every waking hour for practicing the idea for the day has special advantages at the stage of learning in which you are at present. It is difficult at this point not to allow your mind to wander if it undertakes extended practice. You have surely realized this by now. You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline and of your need for mind training. It is necessary that you be aware of this, for it is indeed a hindrance to your advance. Well, this is true for me. I have never developed the mental discipline that is important to my advancement. This is my chance to do so now. It's frustrating for me because it doesn't come easily. But if it did, I wouldn't need the practice, would I? So, paragraph 5. Frequent but shorter practice periods have other advantages for you at this time. In addition to recognizing your difficulties with sustained attention, you must also have noticed that unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. You often fail to remember the short applications of the idea for the day, and you have not yet formed the habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation. Paragraph 6. Structure then is necessary for you at this time. Planned to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice and salvation. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. While I know that I need practice sustaining attention during meditation, I have no trouble remembering my purpose. I think about it often during the day. The fact that I have calls all day helps. In these calls, we discuss A Course in Miracles and share our experiences of this practice. I do this 7 days a week, so my mind is focused on my purpose all during the day and all during the week. My motivation is consistent, and I'm not heavily defended against learning. In fact, I'm always amazed to discover when there is any defense against learning. It still happens occasionally, but not very often. Paragraph 7. We will therefore keep to the 5 minute an hour practice periods for a while and urge you to omit as few as possible. Using the first 5 minutes of the hour will be particularly helpful since it imposes firmer structure. Do not, however, use your lapses from the schedule as an excuse not to return to it again as soon as you can. There may well be a temptation to regard the day as lost because you have already failed to do what is required. This should, however, merely be recognized at what it is: a refusal to let your mistake be corrected, and an unwillingness to try again. Paragraph 8. The Holy Spirit is not delayed in his teaching by your mistakes. He can be held back only by your unwillingness to let them go. Let us therefore be determined, particularly for the next week or so, to be willing to forgive ourselves for our lapses in diligence and our failures to follow the instructions for practicing the day's idea. This tolerance for weakness will enable us to overlook it rather than give it power to delay our learning. If we give it power to do this, we are regarding it as strength and are confusing strength with weakness. When I first began my study of the Course, I often gave up on the lessons because I kept failing to be consistent. In fact, it was years before I got this far into them just because of that tendency. I would feel like a failure, and I was afraid that I couldn't do it. I suppose it was a return to the tiny mad idea in which I was willful. It was like I was letting God down again, and this was scary to think about. Later, I realized that I was doing this to myself because I wasn't ready to give up the self I made. As Jesus says here, this should, however, merely be recognized as what it is, a refusal to let your mistake be corrected and an unwillingness to try again. But the good news is that the Holy Spirit is not delayed in his teaching by my mistakes. There was something in me that knew my purpose even before I was aware of it on a conscious level. I kept trying until finally I got through the lessons, one a day as Jesus instructs. I still did not do them perfectly, not anywhere near perfectly, but I did them well enough to make a difference. I have since come to love them, and I contemplate them every year just for the joy of it. So if anyone is having trouble doing the lessons and is discouraged, I recommend just doing the best you can. Just keep going. Let your mistakes go and move on to the next opportunity to try. You are gaining more than you realize. And so that's the end of part 1 of this lesson. And I will return in just a few minutes with part 2. So please join me there.